Yeah, what's up? This is MJ on the journey back to Silicon Valley. I finally did it. I have escaped the plantation. I finally did it. I escaped the plantation. And it is official. I'm full time at the beach shack. This was a long time coming. Full time at the beach shack. Now, what is the beach shack? That's something we're going to get into in a minute while we go hike down. We're going to take a walk. I can't even find the words now. I literally can't. Uh, but we're going to get into the beach shack, what it means that I have actually escaped the plantation. And yeah, we're going to get into that. So I escaped the plantation and I'm at the beach shack full time. Now, what does all this mean? Well, the first thing I'd like to address is anybody who was subscribed to the channel so far. Anybody that, not only people that subscribe, but people that have watched this channel before, I'd like to address the change. I know some of you may be weirded out, like what the fuck's going on? I thought this was a channel about the journey back to Silicon Valley and becoming a software engineer and learning JavaScript, React, whatever's on the channel so far. And then also I started with data structures and algorithms lately. But yeah, so let's address the change first. So the channel is still MJ on the journey back to Silicon Valley. It is still very much is. And as you can see, it is still a coding channel. It's still about code. Now I have no fucking idea how, but it is. But we can get into that later. Some initial context about why I'm saying I have, and I'm gonna address the change and from coding, from the channel being about the journey to become a software engineer, which is the journey that I'm on. But first I'd like to address what I mean by I have escaped the plantation and I'm at the beach shack full time. So a bit of context, the past, I would say 12 years. So for the past 12 years, I have not lived on my own. Oops. I'm walking barefooted. So I'm just, look, check this out. I don't know if you can see the feet or not. So I'm walking barefooted and there was some sharp things that I stepped on. But anyway, we'll get into the whole walking barefooted later. That's not something I want to get into. So, context. So for the past 12 years, I have not lived on my own. So the first 4 of that, I was living with my girl, which is my wife now, or I'm not too sure. That's a whole nother thing. I don't know actually what kind of marriage I have or not. So for the first for the first 4 years, I've lived with my wife, my girl, and then my wife. And then for the other 8, I lived in my parents' house since I moved from San Francisco to Morocco. So for the past 12 years, I have not lived on my own. And what I mean by my own, like by myself, right? Now, what does that have to do with escaping the plantation? Is that for the first time in these 12 years, I'm back now to actually living on my own, by myself, at a shack on the beach. Now, how all this came along, and the beach shack particularly, that's also something we'll get into as we go. I made a bunch of videos the weeks prior that I was preparing for this move, and there's a bunch of explanation and shit, and getting into like the whole beach shack and yeah, everything else here in town. But let's not get sidetracked. So, context: for the past 12 years, I have not lived on my own. I have not lived by myself. Lived in with my wife, and then I'm at my parents' house. Now, what were the reasons for that? Obviously, wife. That is normal, right? Like, you live with your wife. That's not something that's abnormal. I mean, some people live in different places, you know, couples do that. But anyways, that's not. But living in your parents' house, that's not that normal, I guess, or not. But anyway, the reason I say I have escaped the plantation is that for the first time, I feel in the past 12 years that I actually don't have to live a certain role, right? And play a certain character. So me being at my parents' house and me being the son of my parents, I was playing a role there as the son. Whatever that entails, family to family is different, right? So I was playing that role for 8 years. And before that, I was playing the role of a husband for 4 years. So me and my wife were living in San Francisco. I moved here to Morocco. She didn't. That's a whole other thing. She did come here and visit. Spent about a month. But I moved here to live, right? And moved here with my son. Which also, I was living in my parents' house, and I was living with me and my son, right? And primarily the reason I left Silicon Valley and moved to Morocco is to actually get away from a high cost of living and then be able to dedicate my entire time to becoming a software engineer. That's the reason I moved from San Francisco to Morocco. But then 8 years later, I'm still living at my parents' house. I actually have not gotten a full-time position as a software engineer at a reputable company. I did get a bunch of gigs here and there for web development, but I actually was not successful in landing a role as a software engineer. So 8 years later that I set out to do this, right? Now, that's neither here and there. That's also, we can get into that. That's a whole nother video of why I couldn't land the role, even though I've been like self-learning for a really long time. But for 12 years, I have not felt like me, even though I have no idea what me is, right? But I know it is not those roles. I felt suffocated for years. Now that I look back at it, it was absolutely suffocating. For years and years, I have to live these roles. And I take full responsibility for it because I put myself in those situations out of my own will, out of my own values. But now, for the first time in those 12 years, the only way I can describe this feeling that I have is literally, I only felt this one time in my life. One time. I only felt this one time. And that was when I set foot for the first time on US soil. It was at JFK Airport. I got to the door literally to exit, and I must have stood there for about 10 to 15 minutes. I couldn't walk past it, because I know the minute I walk past it, like I'm in the US officially, like I'm in New York. Which, getting to the United States was an obsession of mine since I was probably 7 years old. That was my utter, complete obsession. My entire childhood and teenage years is to get to the United States. When I got there, I was at JFK Airport. I was stuck. I could not move. Like, that's how paralyzing it felt. But not paralyzing in a negative sense. I felt home for the first time in my life. And I have that same exact feeling right now. I'm home. And that's the only way I can describe it. So, I have no idea where things are gonna go from here. Like, none whatsoever. I know I'm about to go and take a swim. Okay? That's what I'm gonna do next. But I have no idea where this journey will take me. Right? And I didn't plan any of this. Literally, I have not planned any of it. Now there's so many moving parts and so many fucking things I want to branch off to and talk about. And my mind is really overwhelmed right now, and scattered and like elated, excited, scared as fuck. Like all of these things, right? And I can barely find the words to make this video. So I have no idea where things are gonna go. But I have certainty that I am where I'm supposed to be. Home. And that is not a place, even though it is a place. And as you can see behind me, I'm on the beach, right? I'm on the ocean. But I feel home. I feel home with no roles to play. None whatsoever, just me. And I don't have a plan, nor do I have a clue where things are going. But I'm excited as fuck. And more importantly, I don't give a fuck. I'm way more okay now with the plan of letting go. And I'm not saying that in the cheesy fucking sense that people say, it's about letting go. I mean that shit. I let go of fucking control, like trying to really control what's gonna go. And I focus instead on being present for what is available from the reality in front of you. No wishful thinking, no projections of my own emotions and feelings on situations. No. Looking at reality as it is and accepting and taking what is available to you right now. A software engineering position simply wasn't available for me, even though I've chased it for about 8 years now. Building a unicorn, a tech giant, a company that influences and affects billions of people in the world, which was also one of my other obsessions, and still is. I have not achieved that. And but also this obsession made me believe for years and years and years and years that things have to be done a certain way. And things have to go in a certain direction. I was adamant on that's how things are supposed to go, and if that doesn't go, my life is getting fucked up and I'm not achieving what I'm supposed to do. Right? And then last Ramadan came along. There was this event that happened in the family. That's a whole other thing, right? But it was this event that really knocked me upside down and really made me realize, or forced me into finally accepting what the fuck is available in front of me. What does life have to offer right now? Not what you want it to offer or what you wish it could offer. No, what is it actually offering right now, and how can I take that and make that shit work? I've accepted that motherfucker. That idea, I've accepted it during Ramadan. And I prayed on it as well. I have really asked for the ability to accept what is available to you, to accept it. I went deep into accepting that, right? And that was it. That's all it took. Everything subsequently that happened from Ramadan until now, which is about like a 6-month period, everything that happened, I have not planned it. But after these 6 months, I end up home and feeling psychologically like I have never felt since that time I just described earlier of setting foot for the first time on US soil. By letting go, I didn't control any of this shit. And now how it planned and how I got here, that's another discussion. But what got me here is just being present for the ride. And I got on that ride of just being fucking present, and now I'm here. Where is here? Here is home. Fucking home, man. Shit. Yo. I can't even begin. And for this occasion, I am gonna spark one up. Of course I'm gonna spark one up. So I didn't plan any of this shit. Like literally none of it. So where am I? Right? I'm on a beach. It's a beach town that has a community of surfers. It has a strip of private beaches, restaurants, clubs. And it's located in Morocco. Me saying that I'm home ties into something else that I actually have rediscovered over the years. And it was a childhood thing of mine, which is the ocean. Growing up, I was obsessed with the ocean. This is way prior to me developing the obsession to go to America. I practically grew up on the ocean. We had a beach house that we went to every summer. And before we had that beach house, we used to go to my uncle's beach house, right? So I was obsessed with the ocean growing up. And then I moved to California, which is fucking ironic, right? So I moved to LA. As the years go, not as the years go, like from the first fucking day I set foot there in Venice Beach, I hanged out there ever fucking since. I lived in California for about, I'd say a good 17 years. And I was in Venice Beach all the fucking time. And I did go and buy gear, right? I bought a board, I bought swim fins. I didn't have a wetsuit, didn't give a fuck. I was really never into wetsuits that much. Even though I wear one now, like for example, this beach gets cold as fuck and it is winter. So I wear wetsuits, but so I did buy gear. And I remember surfing, it could not have been more than a dozen times over 17 fucking years of living where? In California. Of all places. I haven't. A few years back, at a job here, I decided one day to just buy a board and go to the beach out of the blue. And when I did that, it's almost like this fucking recall transformation happened. Like I'm like, what the fuck? One, I haven't done this in a really long time. Why? Second, I discovered that this is something I want to do for the rest of my life. And I discovered that this is a part of who I am at the core, is being connected to the ocean and riding waves, living on the ocean, walking on the sand, feeling the sand on your feet, being wet from a swim and walking back and having a drink or eating or whatever it is. Like all those nuances and feelings that are associated with the beach are the most favorite things that I experience in life, period. Like the feeling that the beach gives me, I never ever ever found it in anything or anybody. And so I rediscovered that for the first time, you know? Now, mind you, this is an old iPhone. The battery's not that long, but the day is still gonna be long, right? So I need to cut it short somehow. There's so much to fucking talk about and branch off, but there's gonna be a lifetime of videos for that. Yeah, the wrap-up idea is letting go. Yeah. And during my letting go process during these 6 months, I was thinking and considering about going around and traveling, maybe going to Bali or Colombia or Brazil or Costa Rica or somewhere, right? And then a few weeks into that, I realized that just 30 miles away, there's a beach. Like I've been here about like a year back. I used to come and surf here and then go back to Casablanca. I realized, okay, there's a fucking beach 30 miles away from where you live. It's a beach, one. a community of surfers. There's nice restaurants, bars, nightclubs. Well, not really nightclubs like that, but like really cool ass spots on the beach. Has alcohol, good music, good company. I'm like, this shit is 30 miles away from Casablanca. And it's a complete beach town, right? The way you would live anywhere in the world at a beach town, just 30 miles away. And I'm like, okay, forget all these fucking objectives of going around the world to this country, that country, right? Let's make the objective is just to get a beach shack just 30 miles away from Casablanca. Just start this journey with a beach shack. But also, during those few weeks, it became crystal fucking clear that whatever I do next, I have to do as an individual and not inside family or inside the collective or inside the group or whatever you want to call it. It became crystal clear, and it was unequivocal, I don't know if I said that correctly, that I absolutely must be on my own. And what I mean by that is by myself, living by myself, spending most of the time by myself, and being connected to the ocean. To solve that problem, I need to live on the ocean and live on the ocean by myself and let go of any roles that I currently have in my life and simply connect to the ocean and then be aware, present, and vigilant for whatever is available and comes along that life has to give you. But do it from this place. And I do not mean the only physical place, but the psychological place. From a place of being on the beach, spending tons of time by yourself, and not being tied to any role that you have to play or maintain. I realize that that is the gold of all goals. And that is not a big objective. It can be achieved by moving simply into a beach shack. And I literally mean it. It is a beach shack, and you guys will see a tour later. But I absolutely fucking love it, and I would not trade it for any luxury ass, whether villa or apartment or anything like that. The point of it is being on the beach and being in a shack. That's the experience of the beach. And the place doesn't have a stove. It does have electricity, but no stove. I'm gonna be cooking solely on coal. Eating mostly fish. There's a fish town, not a fish town, like a port. We are in a fish town, but there's a port where a bunch of fishermen come every day and unload fine ass fish, right? At amazing prices. So it became absolutely clear that I need to be by myself, living on the beach, a beach shack, and then start to create from that space. That was absolutely clear. So I didn't care anymore whether I landed a software engineering position now or not. I didn't care. I just grabbed whatever was available. And through a series of incredible fucking adversity for these 6 months, which is something we can get into later on, through incredible fucking adversity, I achieved the objective. I've moved full time into the beach shack. And now I'm home and I'm able to create and think from a space where I belong. And I haven't felt that, like I said, since the first time I set foot on US soil. You know? Yeah, and with that, I gotta kill it here. I see on the recorder it's about 29 minutes. It's been a minute. I gotta kill it and get some other footage on the other side of the beach. I'm gonna go grab something to eat, pick up a couple of fifths, a bunch of beers, eat some grilled fish, and then down those fifths as I'm swimming along the coast and walking back on a long ass hike back to the beach shack, and, you know, reflecting on where I'm at now and being ready and present for what's next. This was MJ on the journey back to Silicon Valley.